If you're looking for self-massage and myofascial release tools that work, then this is for you. I do a lot of training and self-massage is a part of my daily routine. Without it, I get sore pretty quick, which affects my workouts. I really only use a massage ball or a lacrosse massage ball, a vibrating roller, and a Pso-Rite. But these three tools are very useful, and in this video, I'm going to teach you my daily routine and explain why these tools are so effective. Let's get into it. So I put this on the vibrating setting, and I start by just doing like a basic check-in on my big muscle groups over my whole body. So my quadriceps and hip flexors get really tight. I think everybody's do, to be honest, because you know, from when you're sitting down at a desk, if you're working at a desk, you're going to get tight hip flexors, like they're going to tighten up. So I do like down the middle like this and over the hip joint. Then I turn slightly to the outside, okay, to get on the vastus lateralis, and then on the inside as well. And you turn your foot out this way a little bit and roll over it, okay. And I just do a couple of rolls just to loosen everything up a bit. Of course, we've always got to do both sides. I'll do both sides. I'll do this as though I was doing it. And what I'm doing here, what you're going to see me do is, this is as if I didn't have any areas that really need any special care today, right? And I say today because it can be different every day. And then what I do is I spend very little time on my calves. I don't find that I need that much on my calves, but I just turn my toes in. So start turning them in and then out, and I just work on the soleus first, down the bottom, and then right up to the knee to get the gastroc. All right, and just all these different angles, okay? And then I just do the other side, like this. And I don't do, to be honest, I don't do too much of this on my calves and hamstrings. I find that foam rolling on the hamstrings doesn't really do much for me, so I hardly spend any time on it. I just sort of go once on the, you know, turning the toes in, and then once with toes up, and then once with toes out, okay? And then this is definitely where I do spend a lot of time. I've got spondylolisthesis in L4 and L5 and a pars fracture in L4 and L5, and my lower back gets really tight. So once I get here, this is where I do spend a little bit of time. And I'll just roll up and down my lower back here, and with the vibrating going on this thing, it's unreal. It really, really helps to loosen things up. And I just roll, like what I'm doing here is I'm shifting my weight just to one side of my spine so that the, you know, the pressure is going right down on the right hand side of my spine, all the way up kind of to my shoulder blades. And then I'll do the other side. And some mornings I'll, you know, if I find a really sore spot, I'll just sit there and work it like that. But the general, you know, sort of get this done in a timely manner type thing is that I'll just keep moving like this and just do a few rolls like this. And then I get into my thoracic extension, okay? We all need more thoracic extension. So when I do this, you know, if you think that you've got 12 vertebrae in your thoracic spine, so you want to work through all of them. So you don't want to just sit on one spot and sit there. So I'll kind of sit on one spot and come up, go right down, and then I'll move down just a little bit and stretch out again. Keep breathing. And I'll just spend a little bit of time here because, again, this is an area of the body that becomes really tight on people, okay? And then what you can also do with this one is this helps with shoulder flexion. You can bring your arms right up above your head in shoulder flexion, keeping those elbows really straight. And when you've got the foam roller up near your shoulder joint, and you can just get a little bit of a lat stretch here as well. And then to finish this off, on the lats, okay? So I start, I'll start kind of in, because the lat crosses the arm, right? It comes onto the humerus there. So you want to cross that joint and you want to get right up here and then roll over, and it's a huge muscle, so it goes right down your back, so you can really, you know, sort of get down here and still be working on the lat. Okay, and then again, if I find a tight spot, for me, I really work my lats because I've had slap tears in my shoulders, a labrum tear, if you don't know what that is. And it's an area that I really need to work on because, you know, when you've had a labrum tear, it never goes away. You just deal with it. I'll change sides now. And so coming from a good friend of mine, Nilesh, who's a sports physio, when I was doing some work with him on my labrum tear to get back to where I am now, one of the first things he did for me was he tested the flexibility of my lats, and he just said to me off the cuff, he said 90% of shoulder injuries will be, you know, or shoulder pain, he didn't say injury, 90% of shoulder pain comes from tight lats. Now, of course, that's an arbitrary number. He was just trying to make a point that so much pain in the shoulders can be fixed by working on the lats. And because a lot of impingement, you know, comes from tight lats if you work it. So I spend a bit of time on that. So there's the foam roller, well, the vibrating roller. So we've done that. And then what I do from here, I get onto this Pso-Rite. And this is a very specialized piece of equipment, I get that. But I wanted to get it because I've got super tight hip flexors. Spondylolisthesis, pars fracture, makes me have an anterior pelvic tilt, sitting down all day long, exacerbates the problem, and super, super, super tight hip flexors. So, and whenever I've gone to get a sports massage or seen a physio and they get into my psoas up there, they always go, oh, that's so tight. And the way that you have to get into the psoas is in here, but it's so deep. It comes right behind all your organs and your guts and everything. So that's the idea of this thing. The idea is that this pushes through your guts to be able to get into your psoas. So you just find the spot. And again, I remember asking my physio friends, I said, how do I know when I'm on the right spot? He just laughed at me and said, you'll know. And then when I got down on this for the first time, I knew what he was talking about. You'll know. You just get on there. If you look up where the psoas is, and you pretty much just put this like the top of your iliac crest, so the top of your hip, kind of just go towards the belly button about halfway, and you can go even a little bit down from there, but you'll find it. And what I mean by that is you'll find it is you'll know it because you'll go like, oh my God, and it's brutal. So anyway, you find that psoas, there it is. Oh, and it is brutal. And I'll try and get this microphone so you can hear me. Okay, and a sec. There we go. And then you bend your leg and you just move your foot from side to side like this. And it really gets in there. And I basically just try to hold this up to 30 seconds, but really not that long. You don't need to do that long. If you do this kind of thing daily, and if you imagine, if you were doing this without me having to try to explain everything to you, because obviously when I do it, I'm not explaining it to anyone. I get it done a lot quicker, but I'm taking the time to explain it to you guys. And yeah, look, everybody, you know, the issue with things like this is how much time do you have to train, right? And if you only have an hour a day and that's all you've got, would you do this? No, I wouldn't recommend this. There's so much more valuable stuff that you could do, and you should be working on, you know, primarily strength and flexibility and a little bit of fitness. That will do much, much more for your body than this kind of thing. But this is like the icing on the cake, right? If you're somebody that's more serious about your training than the average person, and if you can take an extra 10 minutes a day at the start of your workout, or even every second day or whatever, then this is really valuable. It's a really good use of time. Then I finish off with the physio ball. And the main areas that I hit with this, because this is really, really good for getting into, you know, really specific into certain areas. I don't get much out of it around my the front of my hips because I just can't get enough pressure on it. That's just me. Maybe you do. But where I really get a lot for it is my shoulders. And again, because I've had labrum tears, this has just been really, really valuable for me. So what I do first is, and I'll talk through a couple of things while I'm doing this, but I'm basically just going to go again up my spine, up towards my shoulder blade. So I start down the bottom and I'm just going just to the side of the spine. And then what I do is I'm going to lift, try to get my bum and my shoulders off the ground so I've got as much of the weight on the ball as I can. At first you might not be able to do that. So what you do is you'll just lift your pelvis off the ground, excuse me, or just lift your shoulders off the ground. But when you get better with this and there's not as much pain, you'll be able to take your whole, pretty much all your weight in the ball, which is what I'm doing. And then you just move the ball up a little bit. Now, I remember, I'm going to make this really, really clear. Don't anybody say to me, can you share the research on this? Because no, I can't, and I'm not going to bother trying to dig up any research on this stuff, because what I do is I just speak to my friends that have PhDs in exercise and sports science, or I speak to my friends that are physios and just get an explanation from them, and that's enough for me. And when I've asked my physio friends, what is happening when you do this stuff? Why does this stuff better? Is there any research to say that this does anything? And they always kind of go, they say, oh, there's some research that says this, but it's inconclusive, and there's other research that contradicts it. But so what I've been told that resonates with me is that it's basically because so much of pain and like everything, all the tightness in your body and stiffness, it's from your brain tightening up the muscles. It's a nervous system, right? And so what's happening here, well, at least from what I've been told that resonates with me, is that you're basically changing your brain's confirmation of the pain or of the discomfort, and you're applying a stimulus that makes the brain go, oh, you know what, I can relax that. And that's why you can go and get a massage or use these tools and you walk out feeling like you're more limber or feeling like there's less pain. It's just the brain changing its confirmation of what's going on. So now I'm going to do the other side. And yeah, that resonates with me. And then if you take all of that out, so if we're not talking about research now, we're not talking about what professionals say, we're talking about subjectively in my own personal experience and my friends that train as much as I do that also do this kind of thing. For me, it just does amazing things for my body. I get up in the morning and I feel so stiff and sore from yesterday's training or the day before or whatever. And I do this for, 5 or 10 minutes and I just feel incredible from it. And in recent times, because when I used to live in Sydney, I don't live in Sydney anymore, I would get pain. I used to go to chiropractors a lot. And sports physios. But I don't know any good chiros or sports physios up at the Central Coast, and I haven't made the time to go and find a good one. And I've had some pain in my back that was really spasming up and I couldn't move properly. And I would have gone and seen a chiro or physio, and I did what I've just done there, and the next day it was gone. And it's really good stuff. So now what I do from here, now everything that I just did there is really for my lower back. This is now for my shoulder specifically. And what I do first is I get down on my chest, and it's just a little bit of a check-in. So I'm going anywhere around my chest. And again, I remember when my sports physio friends were treating me in the earlier stages of my labrum tear rehabilitation. And I asked them, I said, oh, are you hitting the pec minor there, or are you hitting the pec major there, when they were pushing in with their thumbs and doing these trigger point release. And they said, no, I'm just feeling around in the area. These muscles are associated with forward rounding of the shoulders, which puts pressure on here and there and causes pain. And I'm just feeling the areas that feel really tight. So we're not hitting the pec minor. We're just hitting the area. And I'm just finding the spot where I go, oh, okay, that's tight. And then when I find that spot, I'm pushing down on it, taking my time, and then just giving it just about a 10-second release. So I'll just do the other side now. So I just find any spot that's tight. I won't take too long on this side. because I'm explaining this. My intention when I started this video was that I was going to take you through this routine at the speed that I do it at, but here I am blabbing on and talking, so it's taking a lot longer. What I also do, which I can't actually do here because you need a doorway, you can get into the levator scap and the upper trap. So if you had a doorway here, so here's the doorway, so you can walk through there, but there's a wall here. So I could walk through here, wall there. If you put that on here and lay down at this angle, you can get downward pressure straight into your levator scap and into your upper trap. So you just move around and on the side of your neck here and everything. And basically anywhere, again, where you feel pain, you just, and you hold it, work it for 10 seconds and then change sides. And then I move into around my scapula. So I'm just gonna lay down on one side, and from here, again, I'm gonna try and lift my bum off the ground. Again, I've done a lot of work to be able to withstand this kind of punishment. When you're starting, you're probably not gonna be able to get your bum off the ground here, and especially if you've got like tight spots and knots. What you can also do here is, this works really nice, you can lay down and externally and internally rotate your arm, okay? That can really help with this as well, especially when you get around to the rotator cuff muscles, the external rotators, okay? And I'm just finding those spots that are tight and just working it for, 10 seconds or so until I get a release. And then around on the rotator cuff here, okay? And then I actually even do with the physio ball, I get into my lats as well, because you get a different kind of a release from the physio ball than you do from the foam roller. And it's really good. Oh, these are, when you find a spot, and because when you have a look up online how big your lat is, if you have a look at it, even when you go like this around here, you're still getting into your lat. Okay, it's a really big muscle, and you can go right down here again and still be getting in your lat. So you want to really play around with all the different spots. And each day, you're not going to do every single part of your body every day. And like what I've just done there, I don't actually do all of that every day. Like it's like a check-in for yourself when you get up. Well, for me, I do my strength training in the morning. So I get up and I've just had a coffee and I've gone to the toilet and I've meditated, and then this is just a really good way to get the blood flow moving and get you, prepared for your workout. And it's also like a check-in. It's like, oh, wow, that's tight. I didn't realize that was hurting back there. And so then you spend a little bit of time on it. And it's this stitch in time saves 9 principle. And so, of course, I didn't do the other side, but, this has gone a lot longer than I expected. But yeah, if you take that approach, like some days I'll spend more time on my hip flexors, if I feel like I need that. Some days I'll spend more time on my lower back. Some days I won't do anything on my lower back. And some days I'll spend like 5 minutes just on one shoulder doing the work that I've done on that shoulder, and then a couple of minutes on the other shoulder if I feel like when I get up in the morning and I lift my arms up, I'm like, oh, there's, a little bit of shoulder pain associated with that labrum tear. Yeah, so they're great tools. If I bring them back in here, the Pso-Rite, the Vibrating Roller. These are, if you're wondering, when you look at this, if you're thinking to yourself, is it really that good? They are. I held off for so long on getting one of these, and when I finally got it, I was really, really happy that I did. I've actually got as well, because a lot of people have asked me about my labrum tear and how I deal with it. I've made a video for warming up specifically for shoulder workout and upper body workout when you've had traumatic shoulder injuries like a labrum tear. And it's a really good video. It's very short, and it's what I basically do after this on my upper body days. If you want to check out that video, click the link there, check it out. And of course, if you got value out of this, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.